Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's program will consist of a lecture by the Sheikh, which will consist of roughly about an hour and a half until Salatul Asr. Thereafter, after the prayers, we'll move on to a question and answer session, which will probably last until Salatul Maghrib, which is approximately 4 o'clock. And thereafter, inshallah, food will be served. What we're also planning to do is hand a paper around, because we do know that some people are a bit nervous about asking questions, and some of the questions may be difficult to say in front of others. So we've planned to hand a piece of paper and a pen around. So please feel free to write down your questions, whatever you got. If you want to stand up and say them, then alhamdulillah, that's fine. But we do ask you to keep the questions onto the subject of today. But if the Sheikh does have time, then you can ask any other questions. We do know that there's a burning topic at the moment with Jerusalem. A lot of people have texted me this morning asking whether they can ask those questions. So if the Sheikh has time, then inshallah he will answer those questions. And just a bit about Sheikh. Sheikh Imran Hosein, and those who are here will know who he is. He was born in the Caribbean island of Trinidad in 1942, where his parents and grandparents were both born in India. He is a prolific scholar of the modern age, teaching this subject, which is known in English as Islamic eschatology. He has lectured in the world both in person, and you will have seen him on YouTube, about Ilm al-Akhir al-Zaman, the signs of the last days. His teacher was Maulana Dr. Fazlur Rahman Ansari, who himself was an outstanding theologian and philosopher of the Muslim world, and the founder of the Alima Institute in Karachi, Pakistan. And he was himself well known for having memorized the Quran at the age of just 6.5. Maulana Ansari himself was taught by Muhammad Abdul Alim Siddiqui, who again was another great scholar of his time, who himself was taught by none other than Sheikh Ahmad Raza Khan, who you will know as Ahmad Raza Khan Bredli. Sheikh Imran, at the age of 29, in the year 1971, graduated from the Alima Institute in Karachi in Pakistan, and has studied through several institutions throughout the world, including the University of West Indies, Al-Azhar in Egypt, and the Institute of International Relations in Geneva, Switzerland. And between the years 1975 to 1985, he's worked as a diplomat for the Foreign Service Officer in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, which is for the government of Trinidad and Tobago in his home country of the Caribbean. But he has regularly visited Pakistan up until 1985, where he gave up his job to devote his life to Islam. Between the years of 1985 to 1989, he remained in Pakistan, and then in 1989 he moved to the US, where he remained there until 9/11. And after 9/11, 2 weeks after, he left and he returned to his home country of Trinidad. He is the only scholar in the world today who is teaching this subject of Akhir al-Zaman. So I would just ask everyone to listen attentively to what the Sheikh's got to say. Alhamdulillah, it's an absolute blessing for us, a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to have him here in Nelson amongst us. So without any further ado, I'll pass the mic over to Sheikh and he can address.
Alhamdulillah wa kafa. والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على أفضلهم وخاتم النبيين محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Respected Imam, brothers in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it is His rahmah that I can be with you here today in a town called Nelson, about 45 minutes out of Manchester. In Britain. And I want to begin by sharing with you my view, because I am a scholar of international politics and international economics and international affairs, in addition to my studies in Islam, that Britain occupies a very, very important place in Akhirul Zaman. In Akhirul Zaman. And if you're living here, you're born here, you're living here, and you never studied the history of this island, you never studied the role that this island has played in world affairs. You never studied the scientific and technological revolution, which is still continuing to this day. It is an absolutely unique phenomenon in human history. Never happened before. You cannot build a foundation for the scientific and technological revolution in modern Western civilization merely on the foundations of what the Arabs produced in science and technology. If you live here and you've never studied an industrial revolution which began in Manchester, I believe, in Manchester, and we swept the world. If you're living here and you've never studied secularism, the secularization of knowledge, the secularization of political philosophy, of economic philosophy, the secularization of gender. You've never studied the feminist revolution which began in this country. If you live in this country and you've never studied what this country has done to money. You know nothing about the Bank of England and when it was established and what was the role it played in the transformation of money. It is inexcusable. The young man living in Pakistan has hardly a chance to be able to master all his subjects. No matter what is the piety in his heart, no matter how energetic is his effort to study, but living in Pakistan, he doesn't have that much of a chance. And if you are here, and you put your head in the sand like an ostrich, and you pretend that modern Western civilization never emerged in history, it's not important. All I have to do is study that kitab and that kitab and that kitab, bas, baat khatam. No, he would have lost a great opportunity. So that's my preliminary comment. And I am 75 years of age, and I don't know how long Allah will keep me, but so long as there is life, so long as I have the health, I have to keep on making the effort, struggling for a new generation of ulama to emerge. And I believe I can be wrong, I have made mistakes in the past. But I believe now, since this is my second visit to Britain for this year, and prior to this I had never come here for 15 years. Suddenly when I arrived here last August, the waves started to hit me, the vibrations, that perhaps it is from this country that a new generation of ulama of Islam will emerge, which will be able to do what our contemporary ulama cannot do, because the Darul Uloom is not established for this purpose. A new generation of ulama can emerge in this country, will be able to return to the Quran, the Book of Allah, and to Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, to explain the world today, to explain its political reality and its political predicament, to explain economic reality, to explain monetary reality, to explain the feminist revolution. and to explain and to anticipate what lies ahead. The whole rest of the world will watch, dazzled by the scholarship which can emerge. That's your amana. But you have to protect your wives and protect your children. If you're living in a place where there's constant danger, then you have to take your wives and children out into the remote countryside, so that they are protected while you are pursuing knowledge. With this preliminary comment, which I hope may reach into your hearts and you will not forget what I have said, because I am 75 and I've spent all my life in the pursuit of knowledge, and I've probably traveled more all over the world of Islam than any one of you. So I do have some experience. I just came 2 weeks ago from the city of Belgrade in the Balkans. And in Belgrade, they hated Islam. Bitter hatred for Islam. The Ottoman Empire had ruled over Belgrade for 400 years. I never saw an invitation card inviting them to come and rule over the Christians. No. They came as an imperial power. And whenever an imperial power comes, it leaves behind a legacy of hatred and bitterness. And you know about that because you know about India. And you know about the hatred that Hindus have for Muslims today, which is entirely understandable, yes. Because imperialism is something to be rejected. You wage wars of oppression in order to expand your territory. You leave behind a legacy of hatred and bitterness. That is not Islam. So in the Balkans, the Ottoman Empire left a legacy of bitterness and hatred for Islam. And when they defeated the Ottomans and put them out, they destroyed every masjid. Every masjid was destroyed, except for one. They kept one standing. And lo and behold, after all those years of bloodshed and hatred and bitterness, and they took away the biggest cathedral of the Christians. It is like our Makkah, our Kaaba. The Ottomans took it away from them and converted it into a masjid. And that pain and that bloodshed is still in their hearts to this day, that they took away our cathedral. And lo and behold, this is the beauty of Islam, that I could return to Belgrade, as I did 2 weeks ago, and I did 2 years ago. And I receive a welcome from these people of tremendous love, even more love than I find in Nelson. You welcome me here today so nicely, but they welcome me with tears in their eyes in Belgrade. They were weeping. Yes? So I do have some experience in the world. And if you are 17 years of age and you're sitting here today, I'm talking to you. You have an opportunity while you are here. Don't lose that opportunity. Use it so that tomorrow scholars of Islam can emerge who will dazzle the world. Not just dazzle Pakistani scholarship, dazzle the world of scholarship, inshallah. Today is the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. An Islamic view of the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. It's a very big subject, and it is a subject of absolutely crucial importance if you are to understand Dajjal.